So here we are at the National Historic Trails Interpretive Center. You may be wondering why I'm pointing at this sign, and I don't think I've told this story. So when I was driving to Casper, this kid over at the Wyoming Welcome Center, very nice kid. I got off the Wyoming Welcome Center because I was driving on a freeway and I didn't know where I was, and I had to go pee, and I was coming out of Utah. So I'm like, oh look, there's a rest stop, and I stopped there, and then it was the Wyoming Welcome Center, and I realized I was in Wyoming. I was like, oh great, Wyoming. So I asked the kid, look, I'm from Southern California. I used to work for the Department of Transportation. I know what freeways look like, so what's a better route? And he plotted me out a route, and he said it would go through every type of landscape they have in Wyoming. So I took that. And then over on this place, I don't know what it was called. It's before you get to Lander. But I was on the 28, and I saw a sign, and it was a historical marker sign. So I followed it, and I went down a gravel road, past the guy on his tractor with two kids on the back of the tractor, tilling the front yard, because sometimes you gotta grow some in the front yard, I don't know. And then continuing down the gravel road, and then there's sign pointing down these two ruts. I'm like, I don't know, I guess not a lot of cars come here. So I went down them, and eventually I found the sign. It was for a place called Little Sandy Crossing. And there was historical marker by Bureau of Land Management, BLM, who also does this center thing there. And there was a bridge, and I looked at the marker. There's my hand pointing at the marker. And I looked at the ruts, which were over there. And I looked at the bridge that was over there. And I said, those are wagon ruts. I keep pointing, you can't see them. It's funny. So I decided to drive on them. And I almost tipped out. I almost tipped over. I was up. And then for some reason, there was a drop of like, I don't know, half foot or something. So I bottomed her out. And later I find out I had busted out a headlight that night, I found out. And then the next day, about halfway between Fort Washakie and Du Bois, when I was going to look over this overlook that Dwayne had told me, Dwayne is the guy I'm staying with, Dwayne had told me that you can see the Tetons really great. You don't even need to go in the park. Halfway between those two places, I had pulled over, and then I got back in the car, and the car made a bunch of clanking noise, and then made a whirring noise. So I called Charlie in San Diego, my mechanic, and he said, that sounds like your starter isn't connected really well to your engine. So I called the guy who I had fixed my headlight, and he said, you know what, I think that there's probably a mechanic in Du Bois. You can talk to him, but why don't you call the guys at Napa? They go down there a lot, and they probably know somebody. So I called the guys at Napa where I bought the headlight, and then they told me to go to Mike at Bulls Conoco. So I call Mike at Bulls Conoco. Let me change hands now. Call Mike at Bulls Conoco. Hey, look, there's a sign. Called Mike at Bulls Conoco, and he seemed like he had a lot of work to do, but that's cool. You know, you're doing some work, whatever. So called Mike at Bulls Conoco, and he ended up fixing the starter. I had to get pop started. Luckily, Aozora has a tire on the back. Hi, lady.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Has a tire on the back, so this guy was able to push me to get enough speed so I could pop start her. And then I got to Du Bois. When I got to Du Bois, the guys were on lunch, so I had to leave her running for like 15 minutes because, you know, don't stop the car. Don't turn it off. That'd be a really bad idea when you can't start her again. So then they came back, and it took about an hour for her to cool down. Then he just ratcheted, had a ratchet and extension, and ratcheted the bolts back in. So that was cool. But anyway, then I'm driving slow. That was the next day. And then I'm driving slow down this trail, the California, and one of those things down there says Mormon Trail. Let's see, the last one over there says Mormon Trail. So I'm going down this trail, and I'm going slower because I don't feel like destroying Aozora any more than I was. So I'm going slow, and I notice this rise, and I see these things, and I'm like, those look like holes. They might be holes, so why trans that? So I get out the car, and I go over to look at the hole, and I'm like, yep, that could break an axle. How nice. So I didn't do that. I got out, and I was standing around looking to see if maybe there's a way around it that was easy. And I noticed some foliage that was like right next to me, and it was kind of, messed up. I'm like, that's where cars go. I'll do that. So I went there, and I was standing around looking at this stuff, and in the middle of looking at stuff, it started raining. First, it's San Diego rained, and a little drop. If you don't know, San Diego rain's like, you get a drop on the head and drop on the shoulder, and rain. San Diego stops. We all don't go to work. So, then it starts real raining, because there had been like 2 thunderstorms out in the distance, and one finally caught up. And so I was like, I'm going to get stuck out here in this desert forever. But before I talk about that, I didn't realize I was only like 4 miles from a road. So, when I found that, I was like, oh, I could have just walked. But before I go into that, the third most amazing thing I saw in Wyoming that first week was at a place called the Parting the Ways that was on that trail. It's a place where people either went one way or went another way. They didn't know if they were going to see each other again. One way was faster, one way was slower, one way was more dangerous, one way you're probably not going to die. One way you go to the Donner Pass, and I don't remember which way it is. But, if you want to get some good meat, then just go to the Donner Pass. It's delicious there. So there was this black thing, this big, black rectangle thing, and when I'm driving up on it, I'm like, what is... Nay! Say hi!
Say hi!
Hello!
Hi, horse, she says.
Hi, horse?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, I do look kind of horseish.
Nay!
Nay! So, big black thing, I go over and look at it, and it's a BLM historical marker in the middle of what me, a person from California, would think is a desert, which was really cool. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm 4 miles from a road, I find out later, and still that's just like the most insane thing I've seen. That's third coolest thing. Second coolest was the eclipse. So I'm getting to the most coolest thing. So I see that marker. But anyway, we're back to the rise. I get over. It's raining. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to be stuck out here. But luckily, the wagon ruts are really easy from there to the ranch road you're supposed to turn off on. So turning off on the ranch road, kind of before I get there, and the storm's kind of gone away. I mean, it's still kind of raining. Sun's nice, kind of off in the distance. And I see a giant double rainbow. Now, if you've never seen a giant double rainbow going from horizon to horizon in a place where there's just sky behind it, there's 3 colors of blue sky behind it. There's the light blue sky, which is underneath the bottom rainbow. Truck. There's the dark blue sky, which is in between the 2 rainbows. And there's the slightly lighter dark blue sky, which was on top of the top rainbow, which is really cool. Really cool. But the thing that made it the most awesome thing I saw in Wyoming so far, a lightning bolt went through it. Lightning bolt. After I saw that, I was like, yeah, eclipse. How you gonna stand up to that? I don't know. And then I saw the eclipse, and I was like, yeah, it's a close second. But double rainbow, lightning bolt. Too friggin' awesome. too friggin' awesome.